Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into Ezekiel Chapter 11. And as a brief recap of the 10th chapter, the Lord had Ezekiel, he's still at Jerusalem in this vision, okay, which the Lord put upon him, it could have been a situation where maybe the Lord gave him like an out of body experience kind of thing, or where it was just like an actual vision he was seeing. Nevertheless, as he's over here, he sees the different angels and what they look like. For the most part, in the 10th chapter, he was describing the Lord and the angels and the chariots and stuff that he saw. So in chapter 11, it says, evil rulers to be judged. Moreover, the Spirit lifted me up and brought me onto the east gate of the Lord's house, which is the temple, which looketh eastward. And behold, at the door of the gate 25 men, among whom I saw Jaazaniah, the son of Azur, and Pelatiah, the son of Benaiah, princes of the people. So these individuals, right, Jaazaniah and Pelatiah, they were basically, when it says they were princes, meaning they were rulers. They were men held in high regard, set over the people. Okay, you had the elders, the priests, the princes, and these were people that would be in, like today, if you were to give an example, you'd group certain people, like you'd say like governors and mayors and presidents and rulers, like, these are the people that would be placed in authority over the rest of the people, right? So these men had that authority, and Ezekiel says here that he saw them, right? Verse 2, then said he unto me, so the Lord said to Ezekiel, Son of man, these are the men that devise mischief and give wicked counsel in this city. So these are the ones that are pretty much polluting, the people. They're leading them they're misleading them and misguiding them, spearheading this wickedness and abominations that they are doing, which say, it is not near, let us build houses. This city is the cauldron, and we be the flesh. Basically meaning that they ain't nothing to worry about. Let's do what we do. Let's continue to do what we do. The city is the cauldron and we be the flesh. And that analogy is basically representing a cauldron as a pot. Okay, and the flesh is obviously in the middle of it. But here they were likening Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is a fortress or a defense city, onto like that pot, which protects or shields the meat inside. So they liken themselves to be the flesh inside that are protected by the walls of Jerusalem, by the pot. And so that's why they're saying, let's just keep doing what we're doing. Verse 4, therefore prophesy against them. Prophesy, O son of man. And the Spirit of the Lord Yahweh fell upon me, and said unto me, speak, thus saith the Lord. So this is what you're going to say. Thus have ye said, O house of Israel, for I know the things that come into your mind, every one of them. Ye have multiplied your slain in this city, and ye have filled the streets thereof with the slain. Because remember that not only were they worshiping idols, these were wicked men. Meaning that anybody that stood up for righteousness, guess what? They would take them out. Okay, you had murders that were going on, and a lot of wicked and unrighteous acts that weren't according to righteousness, according to the righteousness of the law, and they weren't exacting proper judgment. Okay? Verse 7. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, your slain, whom ye have slain in the midst of it, they are the flesh, and this city is the cauldron. But I will bring you forth out of the midst of it. So you thinking that you are the flesh that's protected inside of the city, in this cauldron, that are going to stay here. But in fact, those people that you slain, they're ones, their bodies are what's going to stay here. I'm going to bring you out of here. Okay, I'm going to bring you forth out of the midst of this cauldron or this city that you think you're going to be protected within. And how is the Lord going to do that? By having the Babylonians come over there and break down those walls and take them out. Verse 8, ye have feared the sword, and I will bring a sword upon you, saith the Lord God. So you afraid of the sword, right? Well, guess what I'm going to bring? The sword. And when it says the sword, it's not like one special sword in a cave somewhere where there's just like this ultimate demon who he's going to grab that sword and come around killing people. No, the sword meaning, it's ultimately it's a representation of death, but by way of, one example would be if you had like these armies that will come and they had bows, they had arrows, they had swords, they had shields, they had spears. All of those would classify as the sword, weapons that they would use to slay. Verse 9, and I will bring you out of the midst thereof, and deliver you into the hands of strangers, which will be the Babylonians, and will execute judgments among you. So the Lord is saying, you are doing all this wickedness. I want you, Ezekiel, to tell them, prophesy this right now. Tell them, prophesy this, because by the mouth of the prophets, right, the Lord reveals the things that will happen in the future. Prophesy this and tell them that you guys are saying that you're all good. You're safe, you're protected in here, and you're going to stay in here. But I'm going to bring them Babylonians against you. They're going to take you out of here, and they're going to execute judgments upon you. You're going to kill some of you, and they're going to take some of you captives. Verse 10, ye shall fall by the sword. I will judge you in the border of Israel, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. Now, the border of Israel, when you look at it, really it just means like the territory, the region. So the Lord said, basically, he's going to bring judgment upon you in that region so that you know that it's him, it's the Lord Yahweh doing it. This city shall not be your cauldron, neither shall ye be the flesh in the midst thereof, but I will judge you in the border of Israel. So this city won't be to your defense. It's not going to be your protection. You're not going to be likened unto the safe meat inside the cauldron. Once again, like, here's an example, right? If you back in the ancient world, let's say you had a piece of meat, because meat wasn't a part of the average common man's staple. Okay, you would have bread and lentils and vegetables and stuff like that, but meat was really eaten on occasions if you could afford it. So imagine you were able to acquire some meat and you leave it out. And you come back and maybe a vulture came by or a bird or something came by and just took that joint and ate it and dipped. Right? You could protect that meat by putting it in something like a cauldron or a pot, even if you're not going to cook it. And you just cover it up. So that way it's protected in there and nothing from the outside can get to it. So the Lord is saying here, you're using that analogy, but that's not going to be the case for you. This city's not going to be your cauldron. It's not going to be your protection, your shield. And you're not going to be safe in the midst of it, because I'm going to judge you right here where you think you're going to be safe. Verse 12, and ye shall know that I am the Yahweh, for ye have not walked in my statutes, neither executed my judgments, but have done after the manners of the heathen that are round about you, and namely in worshiping idols, and in practicing the heathenistic customs, in certain rituals, okay? Be it sex rituals or whatever, sacrificing babies, eating abominable foods. When we read in the previous chapters, it says they were weeping for Tammuz, they were worshiping the sun god, they were doing all manner of wickedness, burning incense onto these idols. Verse 13, and it came to pass when I prophesied that Pelatiah the son of Benaiah died. Then fell I down upon my face and cried with a loud voice and said, Ah, Lord God, wilt thou make a full end of the remnant of Israel? Meaning you're going to kill everybody? Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, thy brethren, even thy brethren, the men of thy kindred, and all the house of Israel holy, are they unto whom the inhabitants of Jerusalem have said, Get you far from the Lord. Unto us is this land given in possession. So basically, your brethren, right? Your family your family members, your brethren, right? The Israelites, the captives, the ones that ain't here no more. Guess what? The people in Jerusalem, you know what they're saying? They're saying, "Yo, get your ass out of here, man. That's why the Lord took you out of here. Stay your ass over there. This land is for us. We the ones. Basically boasting themselves, as in, you got taken out. The Lord had you get taken captive over to Jerusalem, but He kept us in here. So really, we're the ones that deserving of this land. It's given in our possession. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, although I have cast them far off among the heathen." So you're talking all this shit. Now, from verse 16 on down to right about the ending of this chapter, or a little before, what the Lord is saying here is actually prophetic, right? Because the Lord is telling Ezekiel, as I'm about to read, tell them that although I scattered the Israelites among the heathen, I'm going to bring them back. But at the time appointed for when the Lord is going to do this actually wasn't at the time of Ezekiel, or at the time of the Babylonian Empire, or the Greek Empire, or the Roman Empire. But it's actually the Lord is going to perform the things that He's telling Ezekiel here in the verse 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. He's going to perform that now in our time. Okay? And we're going to see why that is. So, verse 16, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, although I have cast them far among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come. So, yes, during the time of Ezekiel, the Israelites were scattered. Some were taken captives, the southern kingdom, into Babylon. Some fled into the different regions in the land of Ammon and Moab. Some probably went as far as to Tarshish. Okay, some, the northern kingdom, they were taken captives over to Assyria. And, you know, right around the time when the Babylonians, really around this time, they had already come to the Americas. Okay, because at the fall of the Assyrian Empire, the Israelites that were captives were freed, right? They had the ability to say, yeah, we out of here. Okay, so yes, during this time, you had Israelites that were scattered among the heathen. But this is more so in our time today, where you have Israelites that are completely scattered in all the four corners of the earth. And yet, as the Lord says, He would be to them as a little sanctuary, which that them is talking about the elect, because they're the ones who, as it says in Baruch the 2nd chapter, in the land of their captivity shall remember themselves. So the Lord is really setting up that little sanctuary by way of his prophets, okay, who are preaching, and in whatever regions, whatever countries, whatever states and places they are, they're forming that sanctuary for the elect in those regions to be able to find their way back, to be gathered back, okay, in whatever country you're in. But let's keep reading, right? Verse 17, therefore say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, I will even gather you from the people and assemble you out of the countries where ye have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel. So the Lord said He's going to gather the Israelites from wherever they are and give them the land of Israel. Now, during the time of when the Persians came and they took down the Babylonians, and Cyrus gave the command for the Israelites to be able to go back and continue rebuilding, that wasn't necessarily the fulfillment of this. Though we were able to go back to the land, as we keep reading the verses below, these things the Lord is saying here didn't apply back then. Okay, number one, He didn't gather all the Israelites from the various regions they were at. There were some Israelites that stayed in Babylon, and the northern kingdom were still in the Americas, and different Israelites were still scattered about. There was only some that went back to Jerusalem to actually rebuild it. Okay, but in this time, the Lord is going to do this by His word, right? By He's first going to gather them through this word, and then He's going to send the Messiah back to physically gather them from the different regions where they've been scattered. I believe is it Isaiah 19? That's come down to yeah, here we go. Isaiah 19 and 27. Actually, let's start at 22. It says here, Man, this is all right. 21. And the Lord Yahweh shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know the Lord in that day, and shall do sacrifice and oblation. Yea, they shall vow a vow unto the Lord Yahweh and perform it. Now, when it says here the Egyptians, here it's talking about really Israelites. Okay, when you read Isaiah 19, it may be confusing getting to the latter verses, but it's really talking about the Israelites. They're called Egyptians because we're captives here in modern day Egypt. Okay, like how Abraham was called Assyrian. But anyway, as it says here, they shall sacrifice an oblation, yea, they shall vow a vow unto the Lord Yahweh and perform it. This isn't, remember, Isaiah 19 is talking about America, right? The modern day Egypt. So would it make sense that this verse would apply to the Americans today? No, it would have to apply to the Israelites, and definitely it wouldn't apply to the Hamites in Africa. They don't know Yahweh. The word there for Lord is Yahweh. They're not performing a sacrifice. They're not keeping vowing a vow to the Lord. We are. Verse 22, and the Lord Yahweh shall smite Egypt. He shall smite and heal it, right? And they shall return even to the Lord. Now, when were the actual native Egyptians actually with the Lord in the first place in order for them to return? All right, and being that this is talking about America, when were the it's hard to even say the Americans because an American is a blanket term. You have Chinese Americans, African Americans, Indian Americans. When you say Americans, what nation are you referring to? So here, when it says he shall smite Egypt, he shall smite and heal it, is really talking about Israelites. Because he smote us in his wrath, and that's why we're in this condition, but he is healing us now, that we may return back to him. And he shall be entreated of them, and shall heal them. Now here's the key part. In that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrian shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptian into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. What this means is the Lord is going to set up a path back. When it says the Assyrians and it says the Egyptians, it's talking about Israelites that are scattered in these different regions. Okay, but it's really just another name for Israelites. And the highway is to bring them all back, okay, to the Lord by way of this truth. It's just written in a dark saying, okay? But the point is, I think there's also another, might be one in Hosea. Maybe that's the one I was looking for originally. See, out of Assyria. Okay, I think this will do. Zechariah 10 and 10. It says here, and I will bring them again also out of the land of Egypt, and I will gather them out of Assyria, and I will bring them into the land of Gilead and Lebanon, and place shall not be found for them. Meaning that the Lord is going to bring us back to that land, and we're going to be so, like, there's not going to be enough space to fit us, which is just metaphorical. Okay. I mean, but eventually it'll be physical. That's why we're going to inhabit these other planets. But the point here is, as you can see here, right? The Lord says he's going to gather them, the Israelites, from these different regions, from these different lands, right? And bring them into the land of Gilead and Lebanon, right? Back to the land of Israel. So going back to Ezekiel, that's what the Lord is telling Ezekiel here. Though I scattered them, because these Israelites here in Jerusalem are saying, oh, the Lord sent you guys away because the land really is for us, not, he ain't really dealing with y'all. The Lord is saying, well, guess what? Though I scattered them, guess what? Eventually, I'm going to bring them back. I'm going to gather them and bring them back and give them the land. Verse 18, and they shall come thither, and they shall take away all the detestable things thereof, and all the abominations thereof from thence. Meaning they're going to come back, and they're going to take away all these idols and all these abominations from the temple and from the land. Right? And I will give them one heart. Now, when you actually read the history of what happened when Israel was allowed to return back to Jerusalem, why do you think the Lord had to set up Zechariah and Haggai? And he had to, when Ezra went back, read the book of Ezra. Ezra was vexed. You know why? Because when Israel came back, guess what? They started going off. When the reason the Lord sent Zechariah and Haggai was to basically get on Israel to say, yo, what are you doing? Because when they came back and started living however they wanted to live. They were building their own houses. They neglected the building of the temple. So the Lord had to get on them. They were basically intermingling with these heathens. And that's why Ezra was getting on them as well. Even up until the time of Nehemiah. Why do you think Nehemiah was getting violent with them? Pulling beards and smiting people? Because they were buying and selling on the Sabbath. They were doing all these things even after coming from the Babylonian captivity. They were getting into these wickedness. They weren't putting away the abominations. They weren't putting away the detestable things. So we know that this verse is not applying to that time period. This has to be another time period, which is really in the future. So really when the Lord gathers his elect in this time, as he told Ezekiel in that time, but the time for this that he told Ezekiel to be fulfilled is actually now, when he sends his son back. Okay, and continuing, it says, and I will give them one heart. Right? What did the Lord say? That they may be one, even as we are one. And a heart meaning mind. So we're gonna be in one mindset of righteousness. And I will put a new spirit within you. And I will take the stony heart out of their flesh, and will give them an heart of flesh. And the physical manifestation of this is when the Lord changes, right? As the Apostle Paul was talking about, the Lord changes the bodies of the elect, right? He puts your spirit in that new body, that righteous mindset. Okay. Now that stony heart is referred to as stony because it's stubborn, it's hard, it's adamant. Okay, in wickedness. So the Lord says he's going to take that out, and he's going to put a fleshly heart in you, which really means that he's going to put those laws, statutes, and commandments within us. That's that fleshly heart, where we're going to be continually righteous, and it's going to be in sync. Your flesh is not going to war against your spirit. You're going to have a fleshly heart, okay, and that's going to basically represent us being perfect. That didn't happen back then, because if it did, we wouldn't have gone into captivity under the Greeks or the Romans. 70 AD wouldn't have happened because we would have been all righteous. The kingdom would have been back then. Verse 20, that they may walk in my statutes and keep mine ordinances and do them. And they shall be my people, and I will be their God. But as for them whose heart walketh after the heart of their detestable things and their abominations, I will recompense their way upon their own heads, saith the Lord Yahweh. But for those that want to continue in their idol worship, guess what? I'm going to bring judgment upon them. And he did it back then, and he's going to do it again in this time. Verse 22, then did the cherubims lift up their wings. So after the Lord told Ezekiel to prophesy these things, and he did, he saw the angels lift up their wings. So they basically, mounted up, and the wheels beside them, right, their chariots, and the glory of the Lord of Israel, right, the glory of the God of Israel was above them. So as they mounted up, the Lord's chariot was up above them at the top. Verse 23, and the glory of the Lord Yahweh went up from the midst of the city and stood upon the mountain which is on the east side of the city. So once again, he saw the Lord's chariot move now from above the city up onto the top of a mountain. Verse 24, afterward the Spirit took me up and brought me in a vision by the Spirit of God into Chaldea. So the Lord basically took him back to Babylon, to them of the captivity. So the vision that I had seen went up from me. And this is pretty much the end of the vision that the Lord gave Ezekiel of what was happening in Jerusalem, why he was pronouncing judgment against it, what he was going to do against them. Verse 25, then I spake unto them of the captivity all the things that the Lord had showed me. Okay, so basically then he started to tell them, because remember, when he got the vision, he was in his house where the elders were at. The elders were there. So after he had, finished the vision, the Lord, completed, after the Lord had finished showing him the vision, that he basically started to tell him, because these are the things that the Lord showed me. I saw Jaazaniah, I saw Pelatiah, this and that was happening. This is what they're doing over there. And this is what the Lord said he's going to do. And that's pretty much the end of Ezekiel, the 11th chapter. So with that, Lord willing, you are edified. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha, Quadash. And until next time, Shalom.